Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to Titans Talk. I know it's been quite some time since I've kind of been consistent with videos, but now that I have a show that I can be dedicated to week by week, hopefully I can try and make a little bit more of a conscious decision to upload videos with Titans Talk now that DC Universe's Titans is back. Alright, so essentially there's not a whole lot of new stuff to really discuss in this video. It's basically picking up where the last season left off, and that's actually the biggest thing that I want to talk about here in just a minute or two. But essentially the whole cast is back. Everything that happened in the last season picks up immediately after, everything that ended on the cliffhanger in season 1 picks right up on season 2, and there's a big reason why that happened. Actually, there was supposed to be 12 episodes last season, ended up only being 11. That's because they felt like the ending of episode 11 was such a good cliffhanger that they decided to hold off on episode 12 and decided to make that the premiere of season 2, which is the episode we're talking about today. And that is actually confirmed by the showrunner Greg Walker. Not the best decision in my opinion. I feel like that season 1 was such a hit and miss thing that it was hard to say, yes, this was a great show. But this episode was actually a much better episode to end on than on the previous season. Especially for a season that was so hit and miss with season 1. I feel like that this would have been a great way to end season 1. And they kind of lost out on that. But again, with season 1 being such a hit and miss, off and on, hot and cold, it kind of makes sense why they decided to hold off, but I feel like this would have been the perfect ending to what the ending of season 1 should have been. So essentially the story of the finale / premiere is that Raven has summoned Trigon. He's now full-fledged on Earth. He starts wreaking a little bit of havoc, takes control of some of the Titans after they're able to get into his sort of bubble area that he's taking control of around the house. And that's pretty much the story. We kind of get to see everyone's sort of personal demons or struggles a little bit, which I thought was really cool. Trigon kind of makes them with the black eyes, and so their sort of interactions with their personal struggles was probably the most interesting part about the whole thing, and really builds on who these characters are. A little bit of backstory on some we haven't gotten a lot of backstory on, like Donna Troy. Hawk and Dove we've already gotten a lot of in the previous season, so I didn't really feel like there was a ton to add there, although their backstory or like their fear kind of thing was kind of interesting, where like he gets some kind of drug and then like kills her with it by shooting up and getting high, I think. That's kind of what they implied, so I don't know if that's necessarily his fear, is that his pain and his medication he's taking can affect her and kill her. I think that's what they were kind of going for on that. Not 100% sure, don't take my word for it. But everybody had these cool, sort of interesting struggles. I wish we would have gotten to see more Beast Boys, but I feel like that we kind of already got that previous season with like his struggle as like the tiger, being kind of like caged up, things like that. That's kind of his fear in a way, so I feel like that was already done, so it wasn't really necessary. We already saw Robin's, Dick Grayson's sort of fear kind of thing and destroying Batman in the previous season. We got to see Jason Todd's, where it was actually fighting with Dick Grayson, with sort of that Robin struggle as to who's actually Robin, that sort of fear of, am I being who I'm supposed to be, or am I just following in somebody else's footsteps? Things like that. Starfire, I don't really remember hers, to be quite honest with you. She just sort of fights and kills Raven, or she kills Raven rather, in her sort of struggle. But there could have been a lot more to that. I think that would have been the perfect point to where they could have kicked off who Starfire is, or a little bit more of her background. Something a little bit better than, it's just the same thing we were kind of leading up to on the previous season. But those struggles were actually really great, and being able to see them, and they built a lot of the characters in moments that we kind of didn't get a little bit in season 1. So being able to start the season that way, as opposed to end it, did kind of benefit it here. Where you got to reintroduce those characters, kind of get back acquainted with them just a little bit, and what their history was or what they were doing was. So that was definitely a good play by DC. And another thing that I want to talk about is Trigon. His CG, obviously not the best. This DC Universe thing isn't doing the best in terms of CG work. It looked kind of cool, but just in terms of like real world versus CG, it just didn't quite match up. Looked a little bit off. But overall, I think he looked kind of intimidating. It looked pretty cool. I like the whole idea of having to break Raven's heart, and then her heart kind of ended up being her forehead diamond thing, I guess is what you want to call it. Pendant. Amulet, whatever you want to call it. I like that just kind of making it seem like she has to wear her heart more exposed in order to be able to interact and be a better person, if that makes sense. At least that's the way that I kind of took it. But I felt like that Trigon wasn't as menacing. Raven wrecked him pretty easily. So how they're going to build up another big bad later in the season, if he's going to come back at all, or if she's going to have to struggle with keeping him sort of at bay. I don't really know what that conflict is going to be. But I felt like that whole fight or struggle really ended rather abruptly, and it could have been a little bit more expanded upon had they taken out other elements. Now, those other elements that they could have taken out, which I wasn't that big a fan of, was Dick Grayson going back to Wayne Manor. He actually had a interaction with Bruce, who ended up being played by Ian Glenn from Game of Thrones. Now, Ian Glenn did okay. I'm not going to say he's my favorite Bruce Wayne or anything like that. We have to obviously see a lot more, but he's a Scottish actor, so when he was using his American accent, it sounded a little bit off. He just felt a little bit too old to be a Bruce Wayne to me. Not that that's a bad thing, because we have seen really great older Bruce Waynes in Batman history, but I feel like he just didn't quite fit the mold. There's just something about him that just doesn't quite fit. I actually thought when he first showed up on screen that he was Alfred. I felt like that made more sense versus making him Bruce Wayne. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think about that, if you disagree or not. I felt like he would fit more as an Alfred type than a Batman. Again, too old, just slightly too old, a little bit too skinny, I think, overall. Not really intimidating as a Batman. But we haven't seen him like in the suit. I don't know if we'll see that later. But that would be an interesting thing to go back to. Hopefully, if Dick Grayson becomes Nightwing, he can get a little bit more gear in terms of that. But the whole reason why we had to go talk to Bruce in the first place was that so he would kind of give him permission, I guess. Give Dick permission to go to San Francisco, where he could start up the Titans project again. Because we had it previously, now it's all started up again. We're going to get a lot of people from the past Titans back into the fold, I think, at some point. Again, with Hawk, Dove, Starfire, Wonder Girl. I think they're all going to eventually come back. They kind of have their suit area set up that Beast Boy sees, but we don't really go too deep into that. Now that Beast Boy, Raven, Robin, and Robin technically are all part of in the Titans Tower, if you want to call it. I was actually really hyped about it when they started panning out. I'm like, they're going to do the full Teen Titans Tower, like the T-Tower, like the little island in San Francisco, and they totally didn't do it. I was really hoping it, but I think that might be just a little bit too much of a leap for the DC Universe to take. But overall, it was actually a really good episode. It was a great way to end what should have been Season 1 and setting up a lot of things. And something that I forgot to talk about is Deathstroke. I don't think that it should have been part of, well, it could have very much been a part of Season 1 ending. I feel like he's definitely obviously going to be the big bad of Season 2, but how they're really going to incorporate that is going to be very interesting and critical. They can do a couple of different things. They can make Deathstroke going straight after Dick Grayson. They can make, because he's definitely got a beef with Robin. It wasn't until Jason Todd's Robin shows up on the news that Deathstroke had decided to get back into action and to take back up the mantle again. So I don't know if he's going to go after Jason Todd, and then maybe Jason Todd dies, and then that's how Batman sort of spirals down that direction. Maybe we can get a Red Hood down the line with that. Or if we're going to just go straight for Dick Grayson, he can maybe have that struggle, go for Nightwing. It can be a big back and forth thing. I mean, there's definitely a lot of options as to what could happen here. And I think that's definitely one of the most interesting pieces of what's going to be in Season 2. But I'm actually really looking forward to Season 2. I hope it's not as hot and cold as Season 1 was. I'm definitely looking forward to new stuff. I'm looking forward to coming back to Titans Talk, trying to be a little bit more consistent on this channel. That'd be really nice. But other than that, that's really all I have for now. If you guys have seen the premiere of Titans Season 2, let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section down below. But other than that, that's all I have for now. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.